Hello everyone, this is Brandon with Fanboys Forever.
And this is Jared.
We're here today to give you a look at the brand new Power Attack Batmobile.
The Total Destruction Batmobile. Yeah.
Taken to the streets.
Whole hog.
Absolutely.
The ultimate commando Batmobile. So, I guess Power Attack. What's Power Attack all about? Well, you're going to start seeing Power Attack really soon at your local retailer.
The street date is the 28th, I believe.
So. The 28th.
Coinciding with the release of the Dark Knight Rises movie tie-in toys. Apparently, there's not going to be as big an emphasis on the kids-oriented toys for this movie. So instead, they're giving us a completely original toy line. This also spiritually takes the place of the Brave and the Bold animated tie-in toy line.
Mattel refers to the Batman Power Attack toy line as what they call an evergreen line. And I had never heard the term evergreen until they actually discussed this toy line in a press release. And evergreen means that it will exist no matter if there's any sort of tie-in media or not. So we may have to get pretty comfortable with Power Attack for the next few years.
So.
At this point, we are completely unsure if Mattel is going to opt to do any more animated series toy lines after the failure of the Young Justice line. And that includes Beware the Batman, the new computer-animated Batman show that's going to be coming on Cartoon Network, I guess, when? Late this year?
Probably this Christmas. There'll be a preview, and then the full series will start.
Power Attack may be all we get, or as close as we can get, and we're not even sure that Beware the Batman will translate very well into toys. The designs are so wonky.
So we may get some Beware the Batman toys in this line eventually, but only time will tell. We'll see. But for right now, Power Attack is awesome, and we're looking really forward to it.
I think that the way for us to kick off our Power Attack reviews, Brandon, will be with the Batmobile.
And it's a great one.
And the Batmobile, to me, is always the symbol of what a Batman toy line is. One of the things, even if I can't remember specific Batman figures, is I remember the Batmobile from that line, because it's always so important.
Absolutely.
So let's get right into the Total Destruction Batmobile. So now we have a closer look at the Total Destruction Batmobile, and Brandon, take it away.
As you can see, it's a fairly large Batmobile. The action figures themselves are approximately 6 inches tall.
And here is the basic black and gray Batman. And as you can see, the Batmobile is very sizable compared to Batman himself. It's quite long, and it seems tall enough to where it's realistic that Batman would be able to get into it.
Yep.
Brandon, get a good close-up shot of the cockpit, could you? Okay, so here's the cockpit detail. And zoom out a little, Brandon, and we'll see the rest of the Batmobile. There's plenty of great sculpted details on the car itself. The sculpt is really nice. Some of the influences me and Brandon have picked up just looking at it is it seems, it's got that classic 40s influence with the very front of it, with the hood and the bat head on the front, I guess is the way to say it.
Yes. The bat cattle catcher, I guess.
And, of course, on the wheels, we have these awesome red sort of spokes and things going with the bat symbol, as you can see, molded into the wheels, unfortunately not painted. There's ridges all over the car, and on the back, you can see this nice, sort of overly large thruster, but it's still really nice, and I like it.
It's a good homage to the 60s Batmobile and the 89 Batmobile.
The fins themselves have really sharp angles. Now, there's a trade-off for this kind of sharpness in the angles, as these are made out of quite a wobbly sort of plastic. I mean, it's really, as long as you're not very rough with it, they're going to be fine. They're on there really well and everything, but just be careful.
Absolutely.
Brandon, talk about paint application if you'd like.
Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of it. It's understandable where it's actually kind of a budget-priced item.
Something else I would like to talk about that I feel like Mattel could have improved on is the thruster in the back. As you can see, it's this kind of large black void for the thruster, and I feel like we would have been much better served with a large yellow sticker or a flame design or some paint or something back there. So that's one thing I feel like could have been better. Of course, on the bottom, there is no paint detail, of course, but some nice sculpting down here, actually, for the engine and the motor and pieces here and there.
Tailpipes.
I feel as though Mattel should have painted the bat symbols that we find on the wheels, especially since I really like the new Power Attack bat symbol. But I do appreciate the red accents on the wheels, as well as the red kind of vent marks here. And there is a little bit of paint slop, unfortunately.
Yes.
There's a couple of instances. Me and Brandon couldn't actually pick these out when we were in the store because we had to order these from Mattel shop. But as you can see on the side here, there's a little dot of red paint where they've gotten off track. There's also a couple of little places up here on the silver buttons, and that's, to be expected. But overall, pretty clean paint work, especially on the front here where it really counts.
They're the gray I'm not even sure what to call these, gray portions on top, they're kind of a silvery color. There's some more red accents on the back, and then the eyes in front are painted red, of course. Other than that, that's it. There are no stickers of any kind. There's no sticker sheet included. That's one of the big problems with the Batmobile, unfortunately, is that it's just a little plain visually. The worst part of it being that the cockpit has a lot of really good detail. You can see in the control panel here. I don't know if there's any way to look at this. It's sculpted very well, but it's just not too visually pleasing because it's just plain blue plastic. Okay. There are a couple of action features built into the Batmobile. First of which is the battering ram in front, and is an homage, seemingly, to the Superpowers Batmobile, which has the same function. You press down on the top of the hood, the part of the hood closest to the cockpit canopy, and it will push forward.
Now, as you can see, there's plenty of force behind it. So, if we set up a basic power attack figure, which I have no idea why Batman would be knocking himself over.
This is Owlman.
Yeah, Owlman. Boom. Plenty enough force to knock down any sort of figure. Now, one thing I want to point out, Brandon, is how interesting this action feature is, because it is a very simple one. It is rubber band based. That's right. It comes with a clear plastic band you can use that I probably should have kept on there. But it says to replace it with just a regular rubber band if you would like. So I went ahead and put a regular rubber band so you guys could see it a little easier on camera. And as you can see, when I press the action feature, we see that the rubber band just stretches and brings it back in. If the band isn't there, it'll kind of go back in, but not really. It'll just stay out like this. So, some people may think that it's kind of cheap or kind of a strange gimmick, but this guarantees that this gimmick will never break. You don't have to worry about this coming out prematurely, or any of the things we've had to worry about with past Batmobiles, whose mechanisms would eventually fail. So really, I'm pretty happy that it's so simple, and it kind of brings me back to a simpler time with toys.
It'll be really easy to repair. Something simple. It'll be difficult for kids to break it.
Right, and that's what's important about Power Attack, which is clearly designed for children.
Yes. Action feature number 2 is the projectile launcher. It's built in to the battering ram mechanism. When the hood raises up, it reveals the slot for the projectile.
And it comes with a variety of projectiles. Here we have this strange-looking saw blade, which I don't think is very appropriate for the Batmobile myself, but some kids may get a kick out of it. And this blade here, as well as my favorite projectile, which is the most subtle, just a small missile. This seems like a placeholder projectile that you would just put in it when nothing else is in it, as if it were part of the car.
Seems to just work as, visually work as just a part of the Batmobile.
Now close it back up, Brandon, and as you can see, this one works just as kind of a hood ornament on the Batmobile. The others are a little more outrageous looking. So, when you're ready, show it off there, Brandon.
Okay, the middle gray buttons on top, there's 6 of them. The 2 in the middle are functioning buttons. And press them, and there goes the projectile.
Voila. Now, something that I noticed, Brandon, is that the action figures themselves, some of them come with extra projectiles for the Batmobile. The basic gray and blue Batman comes with these 2 blades, which I noticed had missile endings on them. Even though the package didn't tout it, I knew that it would probably load into the front of the Batmobile. So, as you can see, very easily. Slides right in. Presto. Not a bad bonus for the basic figures.
No, it's really not. And it's a good way for Mattel to reuse parts, because these are just recycled from the blade piece that's included with the Batmobile. Comparison time. Here it is with the Superpowers Batmobile from the 1980s line by Kenner. Pretty similar. It borrows a few things stylistically. The color is very close. And of course, as I mentioned before, the action feature is borrowed as well. Battering ram. Battering ram. Here it is with the Batman Returns Batmissile Batmobile. As you can see, on first glance, not a lot of similarities visually. There is one distinct commonality, though, and that's in the rear. They both have the single jet engine and the 2 fins in back.
Here we have the Total Destruction Batmobile with the 1992 animated series Batmobile. As you can see, there's not really a whole lot of commonality here. Here's the Total Destruction Batmobile with the most historically plain Batmobile of all, the original The Batman Batmobile. As you can see, there's just not a lot of flair to this one. We have the 2 fins, which serve as about the only commonality between the two. And as you can see, even the back thrusters are completely different.
Here we have the tumbler in comparison. Not much comparison to make, unfortunately. There's nothing I can say about them they have in common.
The one thing that I've noticed about them is they seem to be the closest in size of any of the Batmobiles. It seems as though they're very close in scale, which shows you just how large a vehicle the 5-inch scale tumbler really was.
Here we have it with the Batman Batmobile, the second, or was it third? I'm not sure.
I'm not really sure.
Okay, a second or third Batmobile from the Batman. This is when the Batman toys got a little bit more outrageous and a little bit better. There's a little bit of a common color palette between the two of them, but other than that, not a whole lot of similarities.
Here, the Total Destruction Batmobile is with probably what is the finest Batmobile that's ever been made by any toy company, the basic Brave and the Bold Batmobile.
It has my vote for best ever.
As you can see, this is a very impressive car, and it has an incredible transformation gimmick that you can see in any other review you want to look up for, that you want to look up about the toy. So the only thing that I would say is stylistically, they're actually pretty similar. Mm-hmm. Now, there's been a lot of, I hate to say morons, but yes, morons on the internet, who actually have bought this Batmobile and then swear that it is a reworking of this Batmobile. And as you guys can clearly see at home, that is just not the case.
Literally impossible.
And of course, this one transforms into a jet, so it would be impossible for Mattel to actually reuse any pieces from this. Mm-hmm. These guys are being duped by the stylistic similarities here. As we can see, very similar front with the bat head that was inspired by the 1940s Batmobile. On the side, we have kind of this same sort of look going on, and with the curves over the wheels. In the back, there's no commonality at all. So, my friends, do not believe the hype. There is no reuse here. Here we have the Total Destruction Batmobile with the Total Armor Batman Brave and the Bold Batmobile that was released just last year. Now, recently there was a gray and yellow repaint or recasting of this vehicle, but it's still basically the same thing. Stylistically, they are sort of similar, especially when I take off the Total Armor enhancement pieces.
It's about the closest because, like the basic Brave and the Bold Batmobile, they share the stylistic characteristics, the bat face on the front and the high arches over the wheels, but they're also just about the same color.
So that was the Batman Power Attack Total Destruction Batmobile, and a few closing comments, a few closing thoughts.
I think it's one of the best Batmobiles we've gotten. Difficult to compare it to the Brave and the Bold Batmobile, which was groundbreaking, to say the least. So it's not that good, but it's a very solid piece.
As we can see, like we talked about, it's very large. It's got some great sculpting, and of course the only drawback may be paint. You'll find that unlike a lot of our fellow reviewers on the internet, not to put them down because they're catering to a very specific audience, Brandon and I are never condescending towards what we believe are children's toys. Batman Power Attack is a great idea that Mattel has had, and much, much better than their 5-inch offerings that they've had for the Dark Knight or other Batman movie lines. One of the reasons is that it seems to be the perfect gateway drug, if you will. I know that sounds very perverse, but it's the best way I can it's the best way I can illustrate this point. This line seems to be a perfect halfway between DC Universe Classics and the Batman Imaginext line. Mm-hmm. Even the Batmobile is stylistically pretty similar.
Very enjoyable Batmobile, very fun. I would give it a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Collectors and children alike will love this Batmobile.
And a very good bargain, too. This is going to be $25 at retail, and you really get a lot of enjoyment out of your money.
Be sure to subscribe. We would love to have you all tell your friends about our videos.
Until next time, this is Brandon.
And this is Jared.